Welcome everyone back to Tea Time with Angels. My name is Troy J. Bacon. I'm your host and Reiki Master, hypnotherapist. Really, what I term myself these days is a demon banisher because that's one of my truer paths for a long time, and a soul purpose coach. I'm joined today with Joshua Rodowin, and today's topic of tea time and also really collaborating with angels. I know they're a part of this, and I can say I can bring in some dragon energy into this talk, but our topic is Reiki and the traditions, the true origins that I've learned of Reiki, and we'll get into talk about both Western schools of Reiki, the original Japanese schools of Reiki that I've read about and really dove into, as well as we can touch on some other sort of offshoot schools and more modern specific schools of Reiki that have come about. Welcome, Joshua.
Hey, it's good to be here. I'm excited for this topic. It's not something that I have a huge background in. Being in the spiritual community for a while now, I kind of skipped over Reiki as one of my modalities that I worked with on a deeper level. So I'm excited for all of the powerful practitioners that I've come across in the last year. Having had a session done with Troy just last week and having had some pretty amazing results with that, I'm here as much more as a listener, and hopefully I have the questions to ask him that'll help anybody else understand what Reiki is on a deeper level. So I'm excited for this today.
Awesome. So, yeah, I just want to preface by stating that, well, I've been in Usui Reiki for a few years now, since November of 2022. One thing, sort of a common misconception of Reiki. So, I know a lot of people don't even know what Reiki is. I get that question a lot. A lot of Reiki masters still do. Some people don't even know it's energy healing or understand what that is. And then we have to explain it. But typically, those are actually the people who aren't right off the bat going to be savvy for it. But I do want to say that Reiki was originally not even a spiritual practice. It was originally a wellness practice, and the original Japanese name, Reiki Ryoho no Shiori, translates to, well, Reiki, universal energy for the improvement of body and mind. And Mikao Usui started it as a way of healing people after he reached enlightenment on Mount Kurama, a holy mountain near Kyoto. So I can get into more of that story as we go, and there's some specific pieces of and principles and poems of Reiki, the original school of it, that I also want to share. But Joshua, I want to ask you how you first got into Reiki. I understand you took the level 1 certification.
I did. Well, it's been interesting to me. I think when a lot of people wake up, one of the first things that they wake up to is Reiki. I think that's one of the beautiful things about this energy, is it's one of those that is been around for a while now, and it's building momentum as something that's more widely respected, and people are just a little bit more open to it. And that's where I got my start, as I seen a lot of people using it, and I was a couple years into my shamanic work, and I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. I think I want to give this a try. So I got attuned to Reiki Level 1, and then started doing that practice on myself for a while. And but I didn't, like for me, I didn't get the privilege of working with a class of people or doing it in person, right? I did have a very powerful Reiki master from overseas that did a distance attunement, but I didn't have that ongoing training that kind of kept me involved in the work. I just got the manual and did the attunement. So for me, I kind of drifted off, but it is the basis of how I do energy work, or how I began to understand it, if that makes sense. That universal force energy, that source energy, and that love energy. So my understanding of Reiki is basic because I've just kind of created my own system as I've went, if that makes sense.
That does. Yeah. Um, I definitely heard of Reiki and met some Reiki practitioners. Really, my walkout did um, a long time ago, but I didn't really understand it fully and what it actually is. I kind of understood it was a type of energy work. Um, yeah, it is, of course, fairly well respected, and it's pretty readily available in most cities, especially in the US. It's really pretty popular, and there are a lot of Reiki practitioners in most areas. Um, in the UK, in Australia, I know there are some. I think some in New Zealand. Yeah, I know there's some in New Zealand, Canada, um, a lot of the developed world, and maybe on every continent. I've heard maybe some Reiki practitioners, even in Antarctica. Um, yeah, so it's pretty well respected and pretty popular. And so it's been around since about the turn of the century into the 1900s, maybe a little before. I think it really did get established before then, and then it was like becoming a bit more widespread and popular in Japan into the turn of the century. Um, yeah, Reiki Level 1 is, of course, the starting point, and I heard about it. My walkout heard about it, but then he really had a deeper background for years in medical qigong and Eastern um, Asian medicine theories, traditional Chinese medicine primarily, but some others, also Ayurveda, a little bit of Korean philosophy, which is sort of like a cousin of Chinese philosophy, five elements theories. Yeah, that was sort of his work, and Qigong and Eastern Asian medicine, five elements, of course, is highly effective. It's been around for thousands of years um, in application. Ayurveda is kind of a different cousin of it, but they're both effective. Um, Ayurveda also has a five elements theory, but they're a little bit different. They're more like um, where Chinese five elements has a metal element. Um, Ayurveda goes into more of the ether, as well as fire, earth, water, air. But we don't need to get too deep into that. Reiki is, as I said, it was originally a wellness practice, but it does utilize cosmic energy as well as earth energy, which the original schools of Reiki, I think, at least from my readings, seem to incorporate more like of an earthy energy as well as cosmic energy. But it seems that the Western schools of Reiki have kind of like, for lack of a better term, mutated or shifted or kind of assimilated more towards a cosmic spiritual energy, which might be because a lot of like European groups, descendants, Americans, kind of have this attitude towards like Asian and foreign words and concepts and traditions, as being somehow more mysterious, sometimes more cosmic, more spiritual. Um, and so that's fine. That's sort of how it is. And there's a lot of value in that. And there's a lot of value in the higher levels and depth and intensity sometimes with some Reiki masters of how in Western schools, we've really like uh, peeled away at and gotten a deeper understanding of spiritual, angelic, divine layers of energy and levels. Um, we can talk about that and the dimensions, perhaps. But there's also value I found in just incorporating both earthly and cosmic and divine energy and blending them, basically fusing them, and actually some of the traditional original Reiki concepts that aren't so common in the Western schools that I'll be talking about come from this book, Light on the Origins of Reiki by Tadao Yamaguchi. He learned from basically the third generation of Reiki master, his mother, who studied directly under Sensei Hayashi, who was the second generation of student who learned directly from the founder, Mikao Usui. And so one thing I want to get back into is this merging of cosmic and divine energy. Just as even it's kind of a pretty basic, um, but not so well known concept, I think, for Reiki practitioners is in the Western schools, we're taught the symbols and we're taught to draw them in the air before each session to open it and recite the name of the symbol while we draw it, which actually is not traditional. And there's actually a different set or a different type or class of Japanese symbols that goes by a different name. I think it's Jumon or something like that. I hope I'm saying that right or getting that right. But that has a specific connotation in that name of needing to be said, spoken, as you draw the symbol. While the Reiki symbols, the traditional four, kind of, there's a fifth one that is reserved for masters for attunement, but the traditional four Reiki symbols that a master will have learned by the time they're finished with their training, those aren't spoken, kind of contradictory to the Western schools. Those are just drawn in the air silently. I think some masters in the West might still do that. So I've adapted that since learning that. And the metaphor that Chiyoko Yamaguchi shared is that you just simply use a spoon to stir your coffee and perhaps creamer or sugar or whatever you put in that. But you don't need to say coffee or stir to do that. You simply just use the symbol as kind of like a light switch, some people call it, but also I'm starting to understand that the symbols are kind of like similar to a wax seal, I think, on an envelope, sealing it, sort of blending, merging, and sealing the earth and cosmic energies together to activate the actual union of Reiki energy for a healing session. So that's a bit that I wanted to share in this video.
Oh, that's great. What was your, you said you started your Reiki journey in 2022. What did your attunement process look like? And Did you take, like Reiki 1 and 2 at the same time? Were they spread out over time? Can you tell everybody a little bit about what that experience was, having that, that beginning that journey into, Reiki, and understanding those energies and feeling those energies of attunement, and how that shifted things in your life?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Joshua. Um, I'm lucky, or I count myself kind of lucky and grateful to learn from also an angelic walk-in, and she sticks to some of the traditional elements, fairly traditional elements in the Western schools anyway. Um, and she taught me just level one at first, and I think that's how it should be. So what I like about what she does is it's kind of like an echo of the original Reiki schools from Japan, where I had to go through a healing session with her first, so then she could get to know my energies a bit before she would even allow me to learn Reiki level one. And I think that's how it should be, actually. If you want to learn Reiki, you need to go through receiving Reiki first, receiving that type of healing energy, so the Reiki master can get to know you, also give you that cleansing, purification, healing, integration. Um, yeah, so I learned Reiki level one, and then when was it? It was probably a few months, about 3 months later, that I learned Reiki level two after I felt ready to go a little bit further. When is it? I think it was so. My master did a little bit differently than the original Reiki school, as I understand. She gave me the first level one symbol, or first symbol, in level one, which I think is pretty common in Western Reiki schools. I've read that in Japan originally, the Reiki schools used to require a student to go through like 5 or 6 healing sessions first, receive them, and then go through like I think up to a year of training, quite a while of just initial preliminary training and practice before they even got the level one symbol or the first symbol, and then we're taught to use that, and so that's a discipline of its own. So then they would do wait a while before they could be ready to be approved by the master to learn level two. Um, I would recommend waiting a few months at least between level one and level two. I haven't actually heard of, or maybe I just haven't had the direct connection with a master who teaches level one and two together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of people on my side of things, where somebody will go to a Reiki attunement for 1 and 2 weekend, and then what happens, and this is why I asked that question, like what was your experience after being attuned? Because what happened to a lot of people is they went into what like I call like a healing crisis. Like a
Hmm.
lot of things began shifting in their life real quick because they have this whole new channel of energy coming through. From my side of things, I see the channel widening, and more energy flowing through, and with that, things in their external reality start shifting, and that was a bit overwhelming. But the I've had the privilege of sitting with some highly ethical Reiki practitioners over the last 4 months. When I was talking about creating an intuitive healing / Reiki attunement course, and they're saying exactly what you're saying, that that it being stretched out is better. And I really like the idea of people having sat with the Reiki master who's going to teach them first, and doing a session, because that really seems important to see, just to first to clear out any of those old energies, and to build that rapport with the person who's going to pass that down the lineage. So what were some of your experiences after your attunements?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. And kind of to also preface or like introduce how that got started. Um, it was in my first intuitive healing session with my Reiki master. I had this really profound, deep experience. I don't know that I even told her about it or many people about it right away, but it really changed me. Um, During the session, I got in this really deep state of inner consciousness, maybe trance, and I saw this dragon appear in front of me, and it was a big. Her presence just told me a female dragon, and I just felt this amazing energy from her. I can describe her as a cosmic divine mother dragon. Divine mother energy is like a different level of divine feminine. It's like the mother of divine feminine, and so it's a different type of energy to work with. But
You,
so I,
you piqued my shamanic side. I have to ask this question because
mhm,
I've worked with divine mother archetypes and goddesses, and as you were talking about that, I kept seeing Kuan Yin's pink dragon show up. In my
mm,
mind's eye. I don't know if that resonates with you, but that is one of the things that showed up when I first started working with Kuan Yin. I don't want to pull us off task because we are going to keep this one to 40 to 45 minutes, but I had
mhm.
to ask that because it piqued my interest very, very quick.
Yeah, this Divine Mother was kind of like a light gray blue color. So, but Divine Mother energy can manifest, I've found, or be like coming through many different types of beings. So that's possible. Um,
Absolutely.
so I had this experience, and she gave me an egg, and I didn't understand it at first. I don't remember if she told me anything else during the vision. Um, Anyway, it was just a powerful experience meeting this Divine Mother dragon. So my Reiki teacher then, after this session, told me that she sensed they would start channeling light language, and she called it Syrian light language. I'm not sure if that's really a quite accurate term, or if it was from Sirius, but it was a type of light language. And so after that session, I I did start channeling light language. Um, I don't remember if it was like right after that I took level one, the certification, or maybe it was a little bit after, but um, anyway, after that first healing, I did start channeling light language. I have the book, this journal right here. Um, I just happen to have this also. It has a red dragon on it. But I can show you some of these symbols. And so I would start channeling. This is the first symbol I got. Everyone can see that okay. Um, I would get these symbols, four letters, about or some primary letters just for the spelling, phonetic spelling, and pronunciation, and I'd get tones with them too, and then the definition of each symbol. And so there were these interesting symbols, kind of cosmic looking symbols. This one represents togetherness, connectedness, partnerships. Um, anyway, I ended up with dozens of these symbols that I would channel almost every night for a few months after that experience. And the way I would do that, it's kind of interesting. I hadn't done anything like this before, but I would just sit at night in silence and ask for the egg. They would give me this egg again. Actually, I think astrally visited their planet once, and be very careful if you're astral projecting.
Okay.
And you probably know this, Joshua, but if you're able to astral project anywhere and you like see certain scenes, planets, rooms, spaces, maybe of other worlds. Don't do that unless you're calling in like angels and protection first. A lot of alien beings, not all, but quite a few alien beings and other types of beings who are able to see you are either not going to be very friendly at first if you just barge into their business and what they're doing, maybe a meeting or whatever is going on, or sometimes they're going to be a bit defensive and hostile. And I've even had this happen on Three Atlas. They had to detain me and investigate me to see what I was about. Yeah, you don't want to just pop into an alien ship or an alien base. Um, anyway, they weren't hostile, but I met this group of aliens, and they live with these dragons. Um, that's its own experience, but um, these beings with very elongated, slender oval heads. Anyway, so that was a powerful experience. And so, yeah, my first healing session from my Reiki teacher was quite powerful. And so that inspired me to learn Reiki, so that then I could also, just like my first hypnotherapy session after my walk-in, it was just such a powerful, deep experience that shifted things, that then I wanted to be able to learn that and offer it to others, give that powerful experience, offer that, and provide such transformation.
Yeah, that's an amazing experience. So I wanted to ask you a personal question here, because just being attuned to Reiki 1 and kind of moving on from that and doing my own thing, I used Reiki energy in the beginning, but I began to see it as just universal love, source energy. But when I've talked to certain people, they're a little bit more rigid in their belief structure around that. I just wanted to, as somebody who's attuned to multiple forms of Reiki, I believe. What are your thoughts on that? For me, I just, before I do any energy work on people, to me it is just opening my heart and becoming a vessel. Like I don't have all of the rules and structures in place, if that makes sense. I just open myself up to such a place of gratitude and love for the person that I'm going to be working on, and I just allow that to flow through me. I was actually at a Reiki share at one point, and I was actually a little bit nervous, which I generally don't get, but I was only attuned to Reiki 1, and they said, we're not going to use anything but Reiki energy. I'm like, I don't really know how to do that. And I remember just, a good friend was on the table, and I said, and I worked on him, and, I just brought up all of the feelings of immense gratitude and love I had for him, and I let that open me up. And then I worked on him. And at the end, he said, I don't want to make this weird, but your Reiki feels like my wife's Reiki. And in total me fashion, I wanted to make it weird then. And I just leaned in and I whispered in his ear, that's because I love you. And, so to me, that was like the ongoing, like, since then I've had a lot of questions about that, with, Reiki practitioners I highly respect. So to kind of get back to that question, what's the correlation between Reiki energy and universal source energy that we can channel through us in healing sessions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just like I said earlier, sort of the original schools of Reiki, at least the author of this book, Tadao Yamaguchi, he opened his own school in Japan, Shikiden Reiki, which translates as original teaching, because then he learned from his mother, and she had like some of the, I guess, original records and transcriptions and teachings directly from Sensei Hayashi. But yeah, it was sort of like a different knowledge. I guess some of it was lost. And the students who learned from Tadao, then some of their comments are in this book, but they they observed that the Reiki that him and his mother share, the energy of it, is of course very pure, very lively, very lovely, but it also has like an earthly essence to it. Many people observed that, whereas um, Western Reiki schools often teach this like universal source, cosmic energy, which it is, because when Mikao Usui reached enlightenment on Mount Kurama, it's at the end of a 21-day fasting experience. He's actually fasting to prepare for death because here's the story that I want to get into quickly. That is actually the true story of Mikao Usui, apparently from Chiyoko Yamaguchi, that she had transcribed from Sensei Hayashi. And so this is contrary to the Christianized story that Western teachers might teach. It's quite popular out there. But so Mikao Usui was actually just a normal person. He wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't a college professor. He wasn't a Christian minister. He was just a normal citizen in Japan. He worked many different kinds of jobs in retail, in entry-level positions, in management, in clerical positions. And after so many years of working different jobs and different positions, he came to this essential question, just like many of us reach at some point in life, of what is the meaning of life? And of course, a lot of us will wonder that after working so many meaningless, soul-sucking jobs. And so he went on this quest to find the meaning of life, why we're here, what we're actually doing here, why we are born, have this span of life and then die. And so then he spent 3 years at a Zen monastery on Mount Kurama, or somewhere around there. I think it was on Mount Kurama, if I have the story right. And after 3 years of Zen life, he still couldn't find the peace and answers that he was looking for. And so then this question still like was in his mind and moving him to move forward. And he asked his Zen master what else he could do to answer this question and find the meaning of life. And his Zen master said, "Why don't you try death, dying?" And so literally, Mikao Usui, because he didn't know what else to do to find this question, find this answer, he went, I think it was on a temple, but a fasting experience, Mount Kurama, for 21 days alone to gradually prepare for basically death, or starvation death, maybe. I don't know exactly what his original thoughts were on that, but on the 21st day, it's recorded, actually at midnight on the 21st day of this experience, he felt this, and this aligns with what you've been saying, Joshua, about this, where the soul enters the body, but this, it felt like a lightning bolt hitting the back of his head. And there probably wasn't any lightning in the temple, but anyway, he went into a deep unconscious state and awoke at sunrise the next morning. And he just felt an immense amount of like cosmic energy sort of like pouring into him, rushing through him and mixing with his energy. And as it was mixing with his energy, the cosmic energy, he had this realization that I am the universe and the universe is me. And that's the actual English translation that's in this book. And so that has its own implications and connotations.
Wow, what a powerful story that is. I
It
actually
is.
love that journey. That's the hero's journey, right?
It
Like
is.
that is the hero's journey, man. You know,
Yeah,
and it's, when you were talking about the meaning of life, I just kept thinking it's 42. It's 40. If you've ever seen A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the meaning of life is 42. That's it's I always used to ask that question at the whenever I was working with my shamans at the end of every session, and they'd always say 42, and I had no idea what they were saying until I actually watched that movie. So it's kind
that's
of
funny.
it's funny because I
Yeah.
watched it. It's 11:42 where I'm at right now, so that's funny too. Um, so that's an amazing story, and you know, like I think to me that really accentuates the power of authenticity in your own journey. And this brings me, you know, like
Mhm.
we're, you know, closing in on that time that we talked about. This is something that I've witnessed, you know, from an outsider of the Reiki community, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. The Reiki practitioners that I've worked with that have had the best effect, and that I can actually feel their energy, are the ones that are most, you know, involved in their inner work, right? Like they didn't just get the attunements and stop doing the inner work. What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, what it feels like is that, you know, the deeper you go into yourself, the deeper you unwind things, the wider your channel gets of what you can actually run through you. You know, I think that'd be called a pranic tube. I don't really, you know, like I don't put names on a lot of things, but for me, it's the people that are truly invested in their work are the best vessels. And you know, like that's not to place judgment on anybody. It's just, you know, a discernment based on what I've experienced from different practitioners.
I'd agree with that, and thank you for asking that. That's again a perfect segue into another bit that I want to share. I want to read kind of direct translations again from this book, but they're taught in all Reiki manuals in the West too. Um, Starting with the Five Principles, or the Japanese name for them is Gokai. Um, and the the Western Reiki schools, I want to clarify, often teach that the Five Principles just like came to Mikao Usui in meditation and were explained to him somehow to like recite them and use them for purification of the energy body, the spirit. But that's not how they came to him. He was a devout student, actually, for a long time of the Buddhist and Shinto um, schools and teachings. And so he actually read a lot of books and wisdom and put these together, selected these like five phrases that he found through practice were quite essential for, um, just like you said, working on yourself, active every day when you wake up, reciting these five principles. Um, and they are essential and helpful for conditioning the mind and heart for this like high frequency and clear and grounded perspective on life. And so the five principles are just for today, and you start these by saying just for today. The reason for that is because that's acknowledging that it's not just for today's date, but because there's really only this one present moment, and you can't be talking about the past or the future of when you're doing things. It's always practicing these five principles in the present moment. But the first principle is do not be angry, or just for today, I will not be angry. And that's, of course, very essential. So many people struggle with anger these days. And so that's something to meditate on, just every day saying, I will not be angry. Because anger cuts off your awareness, your spiritual awareness, and your connection with source. and it clouds your judgment. Reiki healers, Reiki practitioners, of course, can't then be angry if they're helping other people, healing other people, because then that clouds their judgment and leads to sometimes anger in their practice, resentment, and that that density and heavy energy can transfer to client. The second Gokai is do not be worried. I will not be worried. And actually, after each of these principles, I like to sort of continue or complete the sentence with another short phrase. So for do not be angry, I like to say, I will not be angry, but instead practice love and appreciation. Or also you can say, I'll practice love and acceptance. That also counteracts anger. And so do not be worried could be, I will not be worried, but practice trust and certainty. And then the third principle is, just for today, I'll be grateful, or practice gratitude. And that can be its own sentence, and gratitude is an extremely powerful practice. You know this, Joshua. Actually, Spirit taught me to practice gratitude through a hypnotherapy session and told me that gratitude is a powerful force. And after that, I found, kind of by synchronicity, a gratitude journal in a bookstore. I bought it and started writing gratitude every day. And then my experiential finding is that the specific things I was writing gratitude for every day then showed up in front of me more and more and repeatedly. And so gratitude literally is a powerful magnetic force that attracts more of the positive things you focus it on. So just for today, I'll practice gratitude. And the fourth principle is, just for today, I will do honest work. And this is an interesting principle. Some of the translations say, do your duties fully. Another interpretation of what this could mean is, I'll do honest work, and that applies to making an honest living without having to cheat or steal from people. And just doing honest work, earning an honest living. But also, just for today, I will do my duties. I will fulfill my soul's purpose, is I think another level of what this can speak to. And doing with honesty the work of your soul and the purpose of why you're here as a soul. And the fifth principle is, I'll be kind to all of my neighbors. And I've seen some translations of this as, I'll be kind to all living things. So that principle of being kind to all of your neighbors, helping a neighbor if they need something or if they ask for something, helping your friends, family. We're all neighbors. We're all neighbors not only in our neighborhoods, in our cities, states, in the country that we live in, but we're all neighbors on this earth as humans, also along with animals. And this is kind of extends and bleeds into shamanic principles from many lands and tribes that would agree that we're all just living beings. We're all part of the fabric and community of life, um, where humans are not separate from their community of life. Even human bodies evolved from animalistic bodies a long time ago, or were developed from them, depending on how you want to look at that. But yeah, we're all here living together, and so it's essential to be kind to your neighbors and each other.
I'm so glad that you read those five principles, because it's been since 2021 since I was attuned, and I had actually forgotten them. Not that I don't practice them, but to hear them all again brought me back to, because I had all of the Reiki symbols that I was working with at the time. I had three, and those the five principles hanging on my wall. And I would look
Hmm.
at them every day, and those really did help me in the beginning of my energy work journey. Just to and I love how you went into the, as you were talking about, I also saw the paradox of how you can heal certain things, lower vibrational emotions and feelings, with using those principles. You know, it's a great beginning to the pathway to ascension. And like most things we find after we overcomplicate it with our human and, you know, especially Western minds, is the beauty. We always come back to the beauty is in the simplicity of it.
Hmm. Yeah, these are really simple phrases, but they also open up these really kind of deep and sometimes complex or stuck layers in some of us. I've actually just a few months ago, I was going through some kind of turbulent times in my life, and not like the lowest point necessarily when this was happening, but kind of a lower point. And I kind of like lost my focus for a bit of like where I'm going and what I'm doing in this life and what I'm creating. And so then I don't remember how this happened, but then the five principles sort of came back into my mind. I feel that they called to my mind and heart and soul again. And so I kind of forgot actually some of the principles. It's pretty easy to remember I'll be grateful or practice gratitude. That was already one of my practices. But then some of the others I'd forgotten, like I'll be kind to all living things, or I will do honest work. Those are so underspoken, underrated principles in our society. Anyway, so then I did some reading and I had to re sort of basically remember all five and recite them over and over again. Um, I'm about to publish it, but I then decided to make a workbook based on the five principles. It's the Reiki Master's workbook, and I'll be announcing that shortly, perhaps by the within the next week. Anyway, I have that complete, the whole work of it, and so I structured it specifically to work with the five master symbols of Reiki, of Usui Reiki, for 21 days each for each symbol, then work with each symbol, a wisdom quote, and on the other page, one of the principles or the principle that you're working on for that 21 days. So it really does then become imprinted into your soul and your bones. And truly, these five principles are essential for Reiki practitioners. I think for everyone, really, they can be applied to everyone. But Reiki practitioners, they're specific for, and they really do help purify the spirit, the attitude.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And I, you know, just something that was coming up as you were talking. You know, one of my favorite things about, getting to a level where you're able to teach this stuff is it keeps you engaged in the foundational pieces of the work. right? Like I know when I go out on the road and I'm teaching classes, it's not only because that's what the collective's calling for, it's what my soul is like. Hey, let's go back to the beginning. Let's look at our core, like what got us to this stage, and strengthen that foundation. And sounds like that's what the Reiki principles did for you, and almost seems like what have been a little bit of a dark night of the soul. Which, I mean, hey, it was a 9 year in the year of the snake, so who else felt that this year a little bit? Feeling like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we all felt the pain of sheddings. Definitely, I think I went through actually a few of them. Wow, it was intense. A lot of other people did too. Just dark nights of the soul this year. Um, I didn't even tell many people about what actually happened, but yeah, I'm so glad that we got through that. I'm also going through my Saturn return at this time. I think I'm now in the last third of my Saturn return, but those of you who've
Well,
been
you
through
look great
Saturn,
for that.
well, thank you. Yeah, fortunately, I don't think I incurred physical scars from this one,
Yeah.
but yeah, those who've been through Saturn
This is
return
why we do
know
the
what
inner
that's
work.
like.
This is why we do the inner work. It helps to soften the blow. We got you
Exactly.
get the
Yeah.
tools to get you through these things. We go through these energetic shifts, and
Yeah.
having tools in your tool belt are really what helps you know alleviate some of those symptoms and byproducts of
Yeah.
certain transformational processes we go through in
Yeah.
life.
Now, because we live in a solar system with so many planets and there's just constantly sort of churning of the energies around us, change is a constant in life. And this is one other little principle, I guess, that I learned directly myself through my Reiki practice. It relates to also the patterns, behavior patterns that people have, that a lot of behavior patterns, trauma, habits get stuck in the muscles and bones and they repeat, similar to like a film reel. It just keeps playing and playing until you start to make a change. And for me, I feel that choosing to and also applying the practice and energy of Reiki, healing energies, is like cutting that film reel of behavior and then inserting basically a filter of Reiki, of high frequency healing energy. So yeah, that's sort of food for thought. Where are we going with that? What I wanted to get into is this idea of sort of the healing process. Perhaps we can talk about this in the next episode. Um, as just like you said, the inner work is so essential. Healing does take time. It's like, and this is what Mikao Usui also described as an analogy, metaphor. It's like when you have a stack of paper. Even Reiki works this way. It's best to learn it yourself and do daily applications of Reiki or daily applications receiving from a practitioner. But it's like having a stack of paper. Imagine that is your disease, your illness, and you just take off one sheet of paper at a time, each application. But then it gets thinner and thinner, and then eventually it's just, it will be gone. And that's the way Reiki works with the body. So yeah, let's talk about that sort of field, that concept. And also, one thing I want to talk about that I want to start sharing is something that I guess more of my alien family, but a little bit of my from the angelic community that's been teaching me is a higher ideal, and this will also relate to the next angelic invocation that I'm working on and learning concepts for from Archangel Jeremiel. I think my alien family taught me this throughout my whole life, but this concept of majesty, and that's like a whole video we could talk about what majesty even means and what that can look like. But it's this higher layer and level of being. Yeah, I want to introduce this and we can talk about this next time perhaps. But this basically transcendent level of being that transcends simply being a piece of nature and a human, but that doesn't negate it, but brings your life completely integrated with the majesty of your soul and divine energy. So yeah, let's start unwrapping that beautiful gift.
Sounds like another powerful invocation. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that will be alluded to in the invocation, but that's just a whole other concept I also want to talk about that I'm learning to apply.
Well, do you have any final closing thoughts for the good people watching Tea Time here today?
Recite the 5 principles daily, write them down. You can also online, various stores, various shopping websites perhaps, or from crafters, or even by yourself, create or get a plaque or like a scroll or poster of the 5 principles of Reiki, the Gokai. And there are some ways, perhaps in a metal plaque, and certain forms that actually emit a higher frequency that I've read about. But just what's important is the reading and reciting and contemplation of the 5 principles to start with, to better purify and condition your mind and heart and soul to be coherent together.
Absolutely, I think that's beautiful, and I think we still have more to talk on this one. As usual, we have a lot to talk about on the subject. So I think we could definitely do a part 2 here, because I think you gave a whole bunch of great foundational knowledge. But I know, having experienced Reiki with you, this could be a 5-part.
Oh yeah, this could be, and this is just Usui Reiki we touched on. So you're right. Let's do like a part 2 on more Reiki schools and concepts.
I love that. I just want to add, Troy said something, based in the Reiki principles, and he even said it, around the gratitude, how he noticed when he was focusing on things, more of those things came in. That is exactly how it works. So remember, where attention goes, energy flows. So, choose wisely. Choose wisely.
Thank you for joining me, Joshua. And as usual, I wish you the best. Oh, this is one other last concept that certainly we can dive into and unwrap more in the next episode. One that I was given, I believe, from the angels in my dream time. But just this quote is what it is. Imagine your life as an already finished and polished masterpiece, and then rise from above that level. It's been beautiful talking with you, Joshua, and I always wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and please like and subscribe and share, as that helps this channel grow. More angelic invocations are on their way, as well as Tea Time with Angels every Saturday.